Hi, I'm Charlie. Today I'm going to go through 9 very commonly used phrasal verbs that you could use when you're busy and working hard. Hi, I'm Charlie from Organic English. I'm here to help you become more fluent in English. Today I've got 9 great phrasal verbs that you can use when you are busy and working hard. I'm going to present these phrasal verbs in a conversation that's in a business context. But of course, you can use them in any context you want. After the dialogue, I'll go through the meanings of the phrasal verbs and I'll give you a couple of extra examples to make sure you understand. I'll put a link to a transcript in the description below. You can download that for free to help you follow along with this lesson. You can also turn on the captions if you want to. I'll also put a link to a quick quiz in the description below so you can check your understanding. Now, first things first, let's just review what phrasal verbs are. Phrasal verbs, as the name suggests, are phrases, and they're made with a verb and one or sometimes 2 other words. Now, those other words are usually an adverb or a preposition, more often a preposition. Now, phrasal verbs are so tricky because the meaning is idiomatic. That means the meaning of the phrasal verb is different to the meaning of the individual words that make it up. Now, the best way to explain that is through an example. Break down. The ice cream machine at McDonald's is always breaking down. Now, in this context, break down means to stop working, especially when you're talking about machines. As you can see, the meaning of the phrase is different from the meaning of the actual words that make up the phrase. Because as you know, break means to separate into 2 or more pieces. For example, the glass fell on the floor and broke. Down means towards or in a lower place. She tripped and fell down. So we can't figure out the meaning of the phrase from the individual words that make up the phrase. The meaning of that phrase has become accepted by being used frequently in English. So that means we just have to learn them, preferably in context and by using them over and over. There's no logic, there are no rules that I can teach you to make this easier. Unfortunately, we use phrasal verbs all the time and we just use them unconsciously. We slip them into conversation naturally. And you might misunderstand what someone is saying if you don't know or recognize that phrase, that phrasal verb. That's why they're so important to you as an English learner. Okay, so here's that conversation. Listen out for the 9 phrasal verbs, okay? How are things going for you at work at the moment, Susan?
Well, we're branching out into a new product line, vegan meals, so I'm pretty busy. At the moment, I'm working on some new recipes for Asian food. We're working toward having a complete range for vegans. It's quite difficult, but I'm sure I'll develop some good recipes if I keep at it.
Well, you were always good at sticking at things.
Well, I'd certainly rather do a project by myself than have to chase up other people to make sure they're doing what they promised to do. But sometimes you have to do that just to keep things moving along.
Do you think you could squeeze in lunch with me sometime?
Possibly, but not till next week.
That's fine. But don't try to wriggle out of it at the last minute. Okay, so that first phrasal verb,
Well, we're branching out into a new product line.
branch out. This means to start to do something different from what you usually do, especially in your job. For example, this designer has recently branched out into children's wear. After working in publishing, she branched out into journalism. The second one,
At the moment, I'm working on some new recipes for Asian food.
work on something. This means to spend time working in order to produce, repair, or achieve something. For example, he spent the last 2 years working on his YouTube channel. Every weekend, you see him working on his car. Here's another one.
We're working toward having a complete range for vegans.
Work towards something. To do things that help you to make progress towards something that you want to achieve. For example, Sarah's been working towards a PhD in mechanical engineering. Both countries are working towards peace in the region. The next one was,
but I'm sure I'll develop some good recipes if I keep at it.
keep at something. Keep at something. This means to continue working hard at something difficult. Learning a language is hard, but you've just got to keep at it. She kept at it all day and finally finished the report. Now, quick side note. Keep is an irregular verb, so the past tense and the past participle are kept. Next phrasal verb. Well, you were always good at sticking at things. Stick at something. This has a very similar meaning to keep at something. To stick at it means to continue trying hard to do something that's difficult. I know it's hard learning to drive, but stick at it. Again, stick is a irregular verb, so the past tense and the past participle are stuck. Next one.
Well, I'd certainly rather do a project by myself than have to chase up other people.
Chase somebody up. So this is more often used in British English than American English. It means to ask someone to do something they promised to do, but they haven't done it yet. For example, that company hasn't paid their invoice. You better chase them up. Or, he hasn't handed in his homework. I'm going to chase him up. Now this is what's known as a separable phrasal verb. That means I can put the object in between the verb and the preposition. Chase somebody up. Next phrasal verb was,
but sometimes you have to do that just to keep things moving along.
move along. This means to progress or develop, or to make something progress or develop. For example, construction of the shopping mall is really moving along. The deadline is next week. We need to move the project along. Again, I can put the object between the verb and the preposition, so it's a separable phrasal verb. Next one. Do you think you could squeeze in lunch with me sometime? To squeeze somebody or something in. This means to be able to do something even though you don't have very much time. I can squeeze a meeting in early tomorrow morning. Or we squeezed in a trip to the Grand Canyon while we were in Las Vegas. Finally, that's fine, but don't try to wriggle out of it at the last minute. Wriggle out of something. Now this one is showing a little bit of disapproval, and it means to avoid doing something that you don't want to do. For example, don't try and wriggle out of doing your homework. He always wriggles out of paying his share of the bill. Now here's a tip for trying to figure out what phrasal verbs mean. When a phrasal verb uses a verb that's really visual, squeeze in, stick at, wriggle out of, branch out. Try to remember the meaning of the verb itself to help you remember the meaning of the entire phrasal verb. For example, branch out. Picture the branches of a tree. They grow out of the main trunk and then go off in different directions. Stick at. Stick means to be fixed or attached to something with glue or sticky like chewing gum or sellotape. Squeeze means to press something firmly, especially with your hands. So imagine squeezing an orange to give you orange juice. Wriggle, wriggle out of. Wriggle means to twist your body or to move part of your body with small, quick movements. So imagine like a worm wriggling. So 9 phrasal verbs that you can use when you're talking about working hard, being super busy. So let's recap. Let's recap the 9. Branch out, work on something, work towards something, keep at something, stick at something, chase somebody up, move along, squeeze somebody or something in, and wriggle out of something. I hope you can start using these phrasal verbs immediately. Don't forget, I'll put a link to a transcript in the description below. You can use that to help you follow along with this lesson. You can also go to www.organicenglish.club where there's plenty of other material to help you become more fluent in English. I'm Charlie from Organic English. Thank you very much for watching. Now go out and practice your English.